You open a digital map, and a flight across an ocean takes half a day. 2,200 years ago, crossing that same distance would take months of brutal travel, assuming you survived the journey at all. Today, our instruments map the deepest trenches of the Pacific Ocean. We send robotic rovers to tread through the red dust of Mars. Yet there is a single hill of Earth in Shanxi Province, China, that stops our modern world completely. Scientists equipped with satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, and millions of dollars in technology stand right outside its threshold, unwilling to step inside. Why are archaeologists afraid to open the tomb of China's first emperor? Old explanations claim it is a matter of respect or simple funding. The truth is far colder. Let us travel back to March of 1974. The region near the city of Xi'an is parched. The sun beats down on the dry, cracked earth. A group of local farmers, desperate to find water to save their crops, decide to dig a well. They choose a patch of dry ground, unaware that they are standing on the edge of an empire's deepest secret. They dig down, 1 meter, 2 meters. The iron shovels bite into the hard clay. Suddenly, a spade strikes something solid. It is not rock, and it is not water. The farmers clear the dirt away to reveal a life-sized clay head, its eyes staring back at them from the darkness of the earth. They think they have found an old brick kiln, or perhaps an ancient statue. They do not realize they have just breached the outer edge of a massive 56 square kilometer subterranean necropolis dedicated to Emperor Qin Shi Huang. To put that size into perspective, this underground city of the dead spans 56 square kilometers. It is a sprawling, multi-layered complex designed to mirror the capital of the Qin Empire. The sheer scale of this discovery immediately challenged the belief that ancient tombs could be easily and safely excavated with modern tools. This was not a simple grave. It was an entire world buried beneath the soil. Despite decades of archaeological progress and the excavation of surrounding pits, the central burial mound of Emperor Qin Shi Huang remains completely untouched. The heavy stone doors of his final resting place have not been opened. The fear preventing scientists from opening the tomb is not based on superstition, but on a deadly, scientifically verified reality. As the excavation expanded, the world watched. Archaeologists uncovered an estimated 8,000 life-sized clay soldiers, 130 chariots, and 670 horses guarding the outer perimeter of the tomb. But these were not mass-produced statues poured from a single mold. Look closely at their faces. Each terracotta figure was crafted with unique facial features, hairstyles, and expressions. Some have thick mustaches and stern brows. Others look young and anxious. Their armor is detailed down to the individual plates. They were modeled after a real, living army, a snapshot of the force that unified the empire. But there is a tragedy hidden in this discovery. When these soldiers were first uncovered, they were not the dull, clay-gray figures we see in museums today. They were originally painted in bright pigments, vibrant purples, deep teals, brilliant reds, and warm skin tones. However, the moment these artifacts met the modern world, disaster struck. The dry air of Xi'an caused the organic binders in the paint to dehydrate rapidly. The paint began to curl, dry, and flake off within seconds of exposure to the modern dry air. In less than a minute, 2,000 years of color turned to dust. This devastating loss of historic detail forced archaeologists to halt excavation of the main tomb. They realized that opening the central tomb with current technology would destroy the very history they sought to preserve. The air itself is an enemy to the preservation of this ancient site. But clay cannot kill. The real terror of the tomb lies in what these clay hands were holding. Archaeologists recovered over 40,000 functional bronze weapons, including swords, spears, and crossbows, buried alongside the terracotta warriors. These were not decorative props. They were active, lethal weapons of war. Despite spending over 2 millennia underground in damp soil, these weapons remained sharp and largely corrosion-free. The bronze blades glinted in the light of the excavation lamps, as if they had been forged yesterday. The presence of over 40,000 functional, lethal weapons suggests the tomb was designed as a secure, active military fortress. The emperor did not just want to be remembered, he wanted to be protected. Ancient historical accounts warn that this physical defense system escalates dramatically the closer one gets to the emperor's actual resting place. The weapons in the outer pits were just the vanguard. The true defenses lie deeper, waiting in the dark. How do we know what lies deeper when no one has looked inside? We look to a voice from 2,000 years ago. Writing a century after the emperor's death, the ancient historian Sima Qian documented the construction of the grand underground palace. Sima Qian wrote that the central tomb chamber contains mechanical crossbows, rigged to shoot any intruders who attempt to enter. If anyone tries to breach the chamber doors, the mechanisms will trigger, firing heavy bronze bolts through the dark. But that was not the only claim. His writings also described a miniature map of the empire, with rivers of flowing mercury, representing the waterways. For centuries, modern historians dismissed these accounts of mechanical traps and liquid mercury rivers as dramatic exaggerations. They believed it was propaganda designed to elevate the emperor's status, but they were wrong. Let us trace the blueprint of this underground nightmare. Imagine a deep, stone-lined shaft sinking dozens of meters into the ground. At the bottom lies the central chamber, sealed behind massive stone doors. If you were to breach these doors, you would trigger the ancient crossbow traps. The tension on the bows, held for millennia, would release, driving bronze bolts through the air. Below you, the floor is carved with channels representing the geography of the empire. And flowing through those channels is not water, but shimmering, toxic rivers of liquid mercury, circulating continuously. The chamber is a closed ecosystem, a miniature universe where the dead emperor rules forever, surrounded by a sea of poison. Why build such a toxic, weaponized replica of the world? Because the man who built it was running from the one thing he could not conquer, death. Qin Shi Huang, the unifier of China, was consumed by a profound, lifelong terror of death. He survived multiple assassination attempts, which left him deeply paranoid. The emperor's obsession grew so intense that he demanded his court alchemists produce the elixir of life. He regularly consumed experimental chemical mixtures designed to grant him spiritual longevity. In a tragic twist of fate, the very substances he took to conquer death were slowly sealing his doom. Ancient alchemists believed that mercury possessed magical properties because of its liquid state at room temperature. It was a metal, yet it flowed like water. To them, it was the key to immortality. Qin Shi Huang consumed mercury-laden immortality elixirs prescribed by his court alchemists, believing it would grant him eternal rule. Instead of granting eternal life, the heavy metal poisoning caused severe physical and mental deterioration. Qin Shi Huang died in 210 BC at the age of 49, reportedly killed by the very mercury-laden immortality elixirs prescribed by his court alchemists. The irony was absolute. The search for life led directly to his grave. For centuries, Sima Qian's accounts of mercury rivers were treated as myth. But how do you verify a myth without digging? Modern science provided the answer. Rather than digging blindly, modern scientists conducted soil testing on the earth mound covering the central tomb. They took core samples from different depths and locations across the mound. The chemical analysis revealed mercury concentrations up to 100 times higher than naturally occurring levels in the surrounding area. The soil was saturated with the toxic metal. This scientific data directly confirmed the accuracy of Sima Qian's 2,000-year-old historical accounts regarding the mercury rivers. The myth was real. The discovery shifted the archaeological perspective from dealing with a historical curiosity to managing an active chemical hazard. Inside the sealed chamber, the liquid mercury has had over 2 millennia to vaporize, filling the void with highly toxic gas. Mercury does not stay liquid in a closed space. It slowly evaporates, creating a deadly atmosphere. Breaching the tomb would release a massive, concentrated cloud of invisible, odorless mercury vapor into the atmosphere. Anyone standing near the opening would inhale a lethal dose of the neurotoxin. This toxic release presents an immediate, lethal danger to any archaeological team working without specialized, heavy-duty containment gear. Modern preservation technology is still unable to guarantee that artifacts inside the chamber won't disintegrate upon contact with oxygen. The tragedy of the terracotta paint proved that we cannot protect what we uncover. The global scientific community remains divided on whether the potential historical knowledge outweighs the safety and preservation risks. Is it worth risking lives and destroying history just to satisfy our curiosity? As a result, archaeologists have halted excavation of the main tomb, leaving the central chamber undisturbed. The tomb remains closed, guarded by its ancient defenses. This brings us to the ultimate payoff of the mystery. The very mercury that killed the emperor in his pursuit of immortality now serves as his eternal shield. Qin Shi Huang's obsession with surviving forever created a toxic barrier that successfully deters modern science 2,200 years later. The man who wanted to rule forever is still ruling his underground empire, undisturbed by the modern world. The ancient mechanical traps may or may not still function, but the chemical trap is active, verified, and deadly. The poison is real, and it is waiting. The emperor achieved a dark form of immortality, remaining undisturbed in his underground empire through the toxicity of his own hubris. He could not conquer death, but he conquered the future. Our obsession with controlling the future and escaping death often creates the very hazards that destroy us. The emperor drank poison to live forever, and in doing so, he sealed his own doom and created a monument of death. The unopened tomb shows that some secrets are preserved not by our ability to protect them, but by the dangers we leave behind. The poison is the protection. Ultimately, the emperor's legacy is defined by a silent, toxic monument. A monument that remains powerful only as long as it remains untouched. We must learn when to stop. We carry the drive to explore, but we must also have the wisdom to respect the boundaries of the past. Let us turn our curiosity into calculated steps, rather than rushing blindly into the dark.